So last but not least, our final presenter is Jaan from Future of Life Institute, and he will be joining online. So please just wait for a while, and maybe he can just show up. Oh, okay, thank you very much. Hi, Jaan. Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, so what I heard is that Jaan will be not presenting, but will be kind of somehow kind of dialogue between your Kanai-san. So then Kanai-san, could you just moderate and start? Thank you.
Oh, hello, Jaan. Oh, there's an echo. One moment. Okay. Sorry, I'm just still trying to minimize echo. Okay. All right. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear very well.
Okay. So yeah, so it's great to see you again. I guess we keep seeing each other in various locations. So I guess the last time was in Singapore. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's a shame that you couldn't make it to Japan this time for this event, but we really appreciate that you joined this event online. So
thanks for the invite.
Yeah. But I know you really like Japan, so
very much so.
When are you coming next time?
Unclear, but as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's start. So maybe just for those who might not know about Jaan. So Jaan is probably most known as a co-founder of Skype, but since then he's been like really an active supporter of AI safety. And yeah, I met Jaan many years ago, maybe something like 10 years ago, but he's actually the one who kind of got me into this topic. So yeah, so before, I think I met you when I was interested in consciousness in AI, and then also potential connection to AGI. But yeah, but last year, we kind of worked together to organize the first Japan alignment conference. So I remember you visited me, but now, so what was your kind of intention to, kind of help me to sort of start this kind of AI safety conference in Japan or activity like this?
Yeah, so my thinking is that, and many people that I know also think that the entire kind of AI safety research and alignment research is like very much kind of concentrated in the US and UK. So it would be great. I mean, there's like a few organizations here and there, but like the majority is just US, and in particular Bay Area and in London, Oxford, Cambridge triangle. So because we clearly are kind of like understaffed, underprepared for AI, the rise of power of AI, it's kind of really important to scale up our ability to analyze and constrain AIs. So one way is just kind of like hire more at those kind of US and UK centers. But I think in many ways, a much better strategy is to try to start new centers elsewhere. And in particular, I think if one would start a center in Asia, there are like really three options. One is China, the other is Singapore, and the third is Japan. And I do think that Japan, especially for, I mean, Japan has like some advantages. Like it's kind of easier, obviously, to deal with kind of starting a grassroots center than in China, and also like it has like much more Japan has a bigger population of scientists, and just like a longer scientific tradition than Singapore.
I see, I see. Yeah, so yeah, so, since I understood your kind of intention, so like after the conference we organized in March 2023, we started AI Alignment Network. So actually, like this morning, our director Takahashi Koichi gave a presentation about this grassroots activity. So yeah, but we really appreciate your support. And but the yeah, so in a way, sort of like we are trying to find a way to connect the Japanese community with the West. And as you said, I think a lot of safety research seems to be happening either in the Bay Area or in the UK. Yeah, what do you think would be a kind of good approach to sort of make this kind of connection stronger, and what kind of consequences or outcomes which do you think we should look for?
Yeah, I do think that there's like a sweet spot of connections because you don't just want to kind of like get the Western people to Japan and do the same thing that they did in the West. You want to have some kind of information sharing while still doing independent research. So for that, I do think kind of common events are like obvious thing to do, just like you're doing now, and perhaps have like one or two people who are kind of interested in staying in Japan, just join some of the research groups, just to be someone to say that, look, we tried that, didn't work. Perhaps we should do something else.
Yeah. So, what I also want to hear your opinion about the sort of the balance of focus between technical aspect and or maybe more governance aspect. So, like when we had like this conversation about a year ago, we kind of recognized that Japan is an advanced country, but kind of like research in the kind of frontier AI development was kind of weak. Now we have like many groups working on development of LLMs, but we are kind of lagging behind on the technical side. So it was kind of difficult to make ourselves like meaningful in this kind of international competition. So, but do you think in that context, we could have some other approaches, or but I also want to hear about your idea about whether we should keep working on more technical things, or we should think about how to involve the government to regulate AI development. What's your thought?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I kind of like struggle with it myself. I've been supporting technical alignment research for more than a decade now, and recently I kind of pivoted mostly to helping various regulative actions to go through. I still do think that both are necessary, but it's very plausible that that indeed the kind of AI Safety Institute network, if it kind of like spins up, will end up being kind of more impactful than kind of individual technical research. Although like they're clearly complementary, so like we shouldn't kind of forget to do that. And the main reason why I do expect that regulatory action is kind of much more necessary now, it just seems to be much closer to AIs that can be seriously disruptive. So we actually now, like, for a long time, I was kind of criticized, and people in kind of AI safety research community are criticized that, look, you're kind of doing this thing that like almost certainly going to be irrelevant. And the usual answer was that look, yeah, we don't have AIs yet that are very powerful, but we don't know how much time we will need to do the research. So like better start early rather than late, and find out that we just don't have time. So now it looks like we are in a position where we have, unless the LLM paradigm kind of peters out, which currently I don't think it will, and possibly it will, then we have better and better idea what kind of AIs we are looking at.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess the reason why I asked this is no, I looked at your like priorities website. So like if someone knows about this, it would be great if you could put it on the Slack for this channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaan.info.
Yeah. So yeah, so you have like 6 items on the list which you think should be the priorities. Can you explain the key ideas? No, maybe not all of them, but if you could.
So I think there's like since publishing the priorities list, it was in November. My thinking has evolved. So I think currently my latest thinking, which I haven't updated the site yet, is that we need kind of like 3-part strategy, and the priorities only addresses one part. So the 3 parts are inhibitory, which is the priorities priorities list deals with, basically trying to constrain the current kind of runaway race when it comes to AI. Then constructive, which is kind of providing an alternative if we really need some kind of moratorium on the current paradigm, because we're kind of increasingly less in control of what's happening. Then we need to provide an alternative. I think like David Dalrymple, who I understand is there. He has been like pioneering some of the so-called guaranteed safe AI paradigm, which is arguably much more safe, although it is kind of more difficult. Hence, we need kind of to constrain the current frontier. And the third component is just instrumental. And there in particular, I do think things like hardware security, ability to remotely monitor and control the operation of chips that AI is running on. So that kind of like would give us the affordance to kind of enact certain policies, like kind of moratorium or slowing down, things like that. So yeah, and in particular in this like inhibitory part, I think one productive thing to think about is like really figure out what the red lines should be, like what are the things that if AI, what are the capabilities if AI starts having them, we should kind of like slow down or stop. Because if you think about it, the reason why humans are in control of this planet and not chimpanzees has to do with a set of capabilities that humans have and chimpanzees do not. So if we are going to kind of like hand over these like crucial capabilities one by one to AI, it's very reasonable to argue that we're going to lose control of this, of what happens next. So it's that's why I think the inhibitory part should kind of like cash out into something like that, negotiations on various levels about like what if we see certain capabilities, either using evals or something else, then we should do some interventions that halt the progress there.
I see. But do you think we need to implement some sort of international regulation based on some definition of red lines? Is that something?
So yes, like ideally, I think that's eventually necessary, because AI is and the human brains are like existence proof that you can run a human level intelligence by using just like 12 watts of energy. So we know that the current huge kind of AI experiments, they are like incredibly inefficient. So as the efficiency of algorithms increases, so will the proliferation. So eventually we need to kind of like, if not all, but then like all the countries that are kind of capable enough to host AI infrastructure to arrive at some kind of global treaty. However, before we get there, I think it's more important to kind of look at like where the AI frontier is currently pushed and kind of start negotiations and regulations there, and that's why like Future of Life Institute is a big supporter of the SB 1047, the so-called Wiener Bill in California, that does regulate the frontier models and put some constraints on what can be done, because like most of them are done in California by Californian companies. So I think it's eventually we need like global treaty, but we should kind of pragmatically start where the currently AI happens.
Yeah, because yeah, I think like for private companies and maybe for geopolitical reasons, the stake is high, so there's a like very strong incentive to develop high performant AGI-like systems. So do you think like some treaty should be, I don't know if it's sufficient, but do you think that that would be effective in slowing down development?
I mean, who knows? We don't know. But I think I take kind of courage from two precedents. One is the human cloning that effectively has banned and kind of state banned, and then like you can point to many kind of nuclear accidents, but still the fact is that there only have been like two kind of big nuclear explosions that were not test explosions, like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So like we have managed to kind of keep the nuclear arsenal from explosion. I mean, perhaps tomorrow we won't able, but I think we have some track record controlling these kind of destructive technologies.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like when it comes to regulation, one possible scenario is that like really powerful AIs will be controlled just by governments, instead of private sectors. But do you think that would be a reasonable scenario, or do you think that should be also prohibited?
Yeah. So the way I kind of think about it is that there is kind of legitimacy crisis in the AI development circles, and the companies have very much kind of realized, at least some companies have very much realized that, for example, Anthropic has this long-term benefit trust where it kind of hands out some control over the company to kind of external people. And the main reason is just legitimacy, like making sure that like decisions that affect potentially everyone will not be just made by few people. But like more in general, I do think that clearly governments are more legitimate than individual companies. But governments, and then like finally UN is currently the most kind of legitimate organization, global organization here. So I'm also on board of this AI advisory body, and I have been kind of making that point kind of repeated there. That ideally, I would like to set up some kind of trade with companies and then later governments that they would give out some decision-making capability and implement some constraints, and return would get some legitimacy. So like ideally would get some kind of like almost like a race to the top when it comes to legitimacy, because we really need to figure out how to make those decisions in a much more wider circle, because like the potential loss of control over AI will very much affect everyone.
So in that context, do you also prefer more closed approach, or closed models over open sharing?
This is a very tough question. From clearly like, so my position is that there is like a non-linear relationship between how powerful the model is and how good it is to proliferate it. So if the model is not that powerful, it's it's good to actually put it in the open, so everyone could kind of learn and research, including do like alignment research. And if as it gets more powerful, in some ways it gets better, gets even more useful. On the other hand, like there is like a threshold. At one point, it becomes useful to do malicious acts. And I very much understand the concern of people who do not want so-called power concentration, having the most powerful models just in the hands of the few. I mean, just as I mentioned in the last question. So one way that people have been starting to think about how to kind of escape that dilemma is developing some kind of hardware controls, again, hardware security. So you have kind of things like open source, open weights models or open models that only run on certain hardware. And this hardware itself guarantees that they will not be kind of maliciously used. I mean, it's a very complex topic, obviously, but it's just like I'm highlighting that there is like one affordance that would possibly allow for some kind of compromise.
I see. Since I'm aware that you are seriously concerned about catastrophic risk or existential risk from AI. So in a logical sense, I also share that view, but when I try to communicate that with other people, sometimes people find it extreme or unrealistic. I'm sure you must have had like similar experiences. So how do you sort of convey your ideas to those who are not so worried?
Yeah, so it's been like a long journey, and indeed it's especially like when we had the time, if somebody remembers, when computers did not talk, it was much harder. Now the computers talk, and you can have a deep conversation with a language model, and therefore it's kind of much more plausible to present them something as potential threats. But I do think that the underlying dismissal comes from the assumption that basically like two main assumptions. Like one assumption is that AIs will never be very powerful, which is, and there like some people say that there is no evidence that AI can be powerful. Well, to them I say just like, look, just please talk to an AI and see, do you still think that this is like nothing? And then even more importantly, talk to a previous version and then previous version and see like what is the trend. And just please try to extrapolate it a little bit. Like extrapolation is okay if you want to predict future. And then see like what are the assurances that you can come up with that AIs will never be very powerful, even though they're clearly getting much more powerful, like by months now. And the other assumption is that human extinction is impossible. Like a lot of people have this like intuitive assumption, which is just false. All species on this planet have had like a finite span, lifespan, and most species have gone extinct, usually because of some kind of like environmental factors. And indeed, like if human extinction occurs because of AI, we also expect it to occur because of some environmental actors. You think environmental factors. Think about like runaway AI economy. Like currently, the way that AI is developed, you can think of these like hybrid teams at OpenAI and elsewhere, where there's like a number of people and number of AIs, and they together basically are optimizing or building or growing actually the next generation of AI. And as time goes by and as those AIs get more and more powerful, humans will be kind of like swapped out by AIs until to the point where we suddenly have just AI doing AI research. At which point, as I.J. Good famously said in 1965, we should expect an intelligence explosion. And once you have AIs that are capable enough, and this is just a capabilities question, capable enough to developing their own infrastructure and doing their own sort of like moving their own moving their own atoms, so to speak. We should be very worried about the same situation that happened to many other species where their environment was just pulled out from them as a rug.
Okay, one final question from me. I think you believe that we need to make a kind of global action to sort of ensure a safe application of AI. And so in that context, what kind of role do you expect from Asian countries like Japan, the government of Japan, or academia or industry in Japan? So like, in this audience, most people are from Japan. So do you have any message for them, or can you tell us the expectation?
By far, the main message is just like, please familiarize yourself what's happening. Just get an Anthropic or OpenAI account and just test out like what the AIs are, what AIs can do now, and then just see for yourself how they're getting more and more powerful now. Once you have like intuitive sense of, look, we are now kind of inviting digital, sometimes I call it we're inviting digital aliens among us, and in the hopes of that they will be able to do all the human work. Like once you are equipped with this intuition, it's kind of important to start think about like what are the red lines that we really do not want touched, and then kind of obviously Japanese government is like very powerful government when it comes to kind of international relations. So I think it's valuable to start talking about just on intergovernmental level, like what kind of red lines do we want to be there, and how to enforce them.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you. Can we take some questions from the floor? Okay. Thank you, Jaan. I'd like to take some questions from the floor. So one moment.
Good.
Any comments?
Thank you. If we're worried about the existential risks, and we're doing research at the edge where we're thinking about the worst scenarios and what to do about it, and if we think we have this potentially adversarial relationship to AI, you probably don't want to have that research known by AI. You don't want to train on paper in archive that are discussing the issues about killer switches or how to shut down the internet or whatever. So should we create a channel or a forum where a limited number of scientists can study these questions without current AI knowing about it?
Yeah, I do think that there are multiple constraints that we want to put in place, and this is one of them. I do think that eventually this particular constraint has to do with pre-training, like what kind of data is used in pre-training. I think it's very valuable to think about like what kind of so-called situational awareness do you want to give AIs, because currently they just like know everything. Like I have kind of several times used ChatGPT to help me to configure my firewall at home, because it just knows things about data centers, about firewalls, about cyber in general. So like this is another kind of thing, like kind of point that like if you're trying to contain AI, is it like a really good idea to just hand them everything during the pre-training phase when it comes to the information that they need to escape? So more generally, I do think it's valuable to think about what kind of data goes into pre-training, and then kind of have some kind of constraints on companies, and they can't be voluntary constraints, because I think one thing that we learned, voluntary commitments just do not work.
Let's take maybe one or two. Oh, there.
guess good morning for you, I guess.
Good
So my
morning.
name is Danilo Mandic. I'm a current president of the International Neural Network Society. We are the oldest such society from 1987. And we are hoping to be driving basically also the development of neural networks for AI. Now, it's very, very unclear what AI is, because there's not even a legal definition of AI. So indeed, the European Commission has been sitting for 5-6 years trying to define AI, but they haven't been able to. They have defined an AI system simply because the engineers know what system is. Now, I'm now here asking you to, you're clearly a visionary starting from the Skype days, and you have vision. Education is one of the critical areas, aspects where AI can help. What is it? But however, the AI is being developed by private huge companies. So continuing from the question of my predecessor here, so there is a push for governments basically to have facilities which are comparable to those of big international companies. And clearly it's governments who are in charge with very critical aspects like education. So I'm just asking you, sorry for a long preamble. My question is simple. So what's your vision on AI for education? How are we going to be educated in 10, 15, 20 years from now? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there are several questions there. Like one is like, how do I think about this kind of like government nationalizing AI, AI experiments, and like I have like I have like some unease about this, but again, like go back to this like legitimacy question. I do think governments are more legitimate than private companies, even though they are kind of slower and more bureaucratic, etc. So in some ways, just like we do not want kind of private companies to do like voluntary commitments when it comes to developing nuclear weapons, I think eventually we should either kind of I don't want, again, I'm very hesitant to say that it should be nationalized, but I do think that there should be kind of stronger government controls and constraints on what private companies do. Now, when it comes to, in particular, education, I mean, I even have one project myself that uses AI to teach me languages, which is just really, really cool. It's basically you have a kind of private tutor. I mean, it does kind of hallucinate every once in a while, but it just knows a lot about languages, like how, like what are the nuances, and what is the slang, and why do they once use like one phrase and then another. It's just wonderful. I think there's like a fundamental problem with AI education. Applying AI in education assumes that AI is in this particular capabilities range, where it's kind of capable enough to teach, but not capable enough to do this thing. So like, even though I have like this application for language learning, I do not suggest that anyone should use it to learn to be a translator, because they will just, once they have acquired the language, AI is probably going to be better than them in translation. I mean, it's already, I think translators in a difficult position already. So I think the AI in education question should be like part of the larger question, like what kind of capabilities do we want AIs to have, and what kind of capabilities do we want to leave to humans? So I think it's a deeper strategic question rather than looking at like what is the education as a field, and then see like what. I mean, one thing that kind of frustrates me often, and my wife is kind of involved in some educational initiatives, and I see it like from over her shoulder, is that the people in education seem to assume that the AI is now ready. So now we need to just think about like how to apply GPT-4 in education in the next 20, 40 years. But look, GPT-4 is going to be outdated. I mean, it already is kind of, it's GPT 4.0 now. So really important question is like, look at what the trajectory of AI is, then from different domains, including education, to see what kind of constraints do we want to set in order to still have AI as a positive force rather than just human replacing force.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Jaan. So in the interest of time, unfortunately, we have to stop here. Yeah, but it was very nice to chat with you, and I look forward to see you next time. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that I couldn't be in Tokyo this time, but next time indeed.
Yeah, next time.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Kanai-san, for a really interesting dialogue. So if Jan, you can stay for a discussion session, we will welcome you.